Sherri Roberts. Grief or relief? Grief or relief? Sherri Roberts.
It was the first Saturday in May, 5 days before my 20th birthday, when for the first time in my life, I experienced the death of a fellow human being. I saw the man grab at his chest, stumble a few steps, and fall face first to the ground. I raced over to help him. Turning him over, I saw that his eyes had rolled back into his head. I quickly grabbed out my phone, calling 911. I was assured an ambulance would be there shortly. And as I hung up my phone, I heard the man making what sounded like a snoring noise. And I wondered, had I just made a huge mistake? Could it possibly be that he was just passed out drunk? Well, the EMTs had figured out when they got there. When they arrived, one quickly went in search of a pulse, while the other tried to find a blood pressure. Once, twice, 3 times. I heard them talking, and all of a sudden a voice said, "You'd better go get your mother." I looked down at the man and I said, "Why? Is he dead?" He repeated, "You'd better go get your mother," while he reached up and closed my father's eyes. I stood there, frozen. I should have been blanketed in a deep grief and sadness, like I later felt at the passing of my husband. Or I should have felt the heart-ripping pain that I would later feel at my mother's suicide. But I felt none of these emotions. As I looked down on my father's now still face, all I felt was relief. Relief that he would no longer be able to hurt anyone or anything. For you see, my father had been an alcoholic. Not the happy-go-lucky life of the party kind, but the mean and violent kind. Standing there, I flashed back to all the Christmas Eves growing up as a kid, when he'd come home drunk, start a fight with our mother, then pass out underneath the Christmas tree, leaving his wife crying on the couch and his 3 little kids struggling, trying to put together our new Christmas toys. My musings were interrupted by a voice once again saying, "You'd better go get your mother." And with that, I started walking towards the house. And as I walked, I was flooded with memories of the time when he'd come flying across our picnic table, grabbed my mother by the throat, threw her to the ground because she'd asked him a question on a hot day. Of the time when she'd filed divorce papers. He'd come thundering down from the upstairs of our house and he said, "I'm going to kill that lawyer and then I'm going to come back for you." She'd withdrawn the papers. So it was with great trepidation that I walked into that house that night. I found my mother in the kitchen. She said, "What's happening?" And I said, "He's gone." She said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "He's dead." And what happened next took me totally and completely by surprise. She let out a gut-wrenching wail and fell sobbing onto her knees on the kitchen floor. How could she be feeling like this? I didn't understand. This man had caused so much pain. Later on, I asked her, and what she said has remained with me for my entire life. She said, I was crying for the man he'd been, not for the man he'd become. The author, Neil Gaiman, talks about potential. He said, when you're dead, it's gone. Over. You've made what you've made. You dreamed your dreams. You've written your name. Reflecting back on my life, I know what I've made. I know what I've dreamed. And I know how I have written my name. Reflecting back, when I pass, I believe I will be grieved. How about you? What have you made? What have you dreamed? How have you written your name? Grief or relief? It's your choice. You decide. Contest Chair.
Let's have 1 minute of silence for the judges, please.